I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on MishTalk.com. Welcome back to the show.
Pleasure to be on. Before we came on, we were discussing Microsoft Windows updates. This last set must have taken 15 minutes. I had time to clean up my office. It surely needed it. Take out the garbage, clean out all the water bottles, fill them up, put them in the refrigerator, bring up groceries, and do some other stuff. And then I come back up, and it had finished. I reboot, and it still takes. For like 3 minutes, it said, first thing comes, it says, we've installed your updates. I'm sitting there thinking, okay. And that window just sat there for minutes. I have no idea. And I said, well, then the next line comes up, we're configuring your updates. So it had to install them and then configure them.
And of course, it has to get all the new stuff shipped off to the NSA.
Well, that too. I'm quite certain I'm one guy on their monitor list. So anyway, all right, here we are. GDP estimates keep ticking lower and lower and lower here. GDP now is down to 2.8%. Last Friday, the New York Fed nowcast was down to like 2.26, I think. And that did not include a couple of the housing reports, which I know are going to knock them lower. So if retail sales reports and the trade reports coming out in the next 2 days aren't any good, we're going to see at least some of these forecasts dip below 2% for third quarter. And remember, Jim, it was supposed to be a big third quarter upside surprise. They keep ratcheting these things down.
So why do they keep making these forecasts at the start of the year when they know they never come near them?
Oh, you must be talking about, well, you can talk about any of the forecasts because none of them are right. The GDP estimates have not been right. The number of times they're going to hike has not been right. Their economic forecasts, nothing. None of these things have remotely resembled reality. There was a funny post today on Business Insider showing, going back the last 5 years of how many rate hikes they've projected and how many we've done. Of course, and these things started in 2012, right? So looking ahead, we've had precisely one hike, and they were supposed to get 4 in this year, and they've actually got in 0. Rumor has it everyone thinks they're going to hike in December. Well, not everyone. I don't. But let's just do a look right here now and see what the odds say. Fed Watch on CME. Now, this is based off of how the market is betting, how people are doing. Here for November, the odds of no hike are 91.7%. And in December, it looks like they're scheduling in a hike by about a 56 to 43, 44, 56 to 44 roughly percent that says they're going to hike. These numbers keep fluctuating all the time. If the economic reports out later this week aren't any good, we're going to see these odds drop below 50% and probably substantially.
Are these the same people who said Brexit only had an 18% chance of success?
Well, no, that's a different class of people. Nate Silver would belong in that kind of class with his election predictions. He had Hillary with a 92% chance of winning. August 14th, I think, was the date. And as recently as a couple days ago, actually, he had Trump briefly in the lead for like 1 hour. So, I mean, it's ludicrous to have these things swing from 92%, to 50%, back down, anyway. So, these forecasters, what they don't understand is the effect of time and human emotions over time. To come up with 92% back in mid-August for Hillary to win was crazy. They're looking at the polls and they're projecting the future is going to look like the present. And you know what? That doesn't happen with human emotions. And they in Britain it was a slightly different thing. All the smart money that they were going by smart money. Now we have the same situation here, by the way. I think the money odds are something like 70-30. Nate Silver's election forecast is more like 60-40. But the alleged smart money thought that they would never let Brexit happen. Guess what? They forgot to take into consideration that actual human beings, as opposed to stock market analysts, get to vote.
Well, they also thought people in Britain would be so business savvy that they'd see the benefits of staying in the European Union. What they didn't understand is they were mad as hell with the European Union telling them what to do with their daily lives because they never elected them.
Yes, exactly.
Didn't you guys have a little revolution about something, about taxes and stuff?
I believe we did, and people forget that, and they forget the Constitution that followed that. And, but, here we are. Well, the current odds here, I'm looking this up right now. Hillary Clinton, 58.2%. Donald Trump, 41.8%. That's by Nate Silver. I criticize his stuff all the time. I'm telling you, Trump needs to only pick up one more state. Can he do it? To have these odds swing exactly the other direction. And he's not that far out. Colorado, for example, what are the polls saying? The latest poll in Colorado actually has Trump in the lead. The one that's September 20 to 25th, the September 21st to 23rd poll had Clinton in the lead by 1 point, and a September 13th to 21 had Clinton in the lead by 2. A September 22 to 23 by Gravis Marketing had Trump in the lead by 4. A September 9 to 13th by Emerson College had Trump in the lead by 4, but a September 4 to 18th by College Marshall had Clinton in the lead by 7. So, but anyway, you can see that the average of all of those is something like a tie, which Nate Silver said equated to something like 1.6% in favor of Clinton. Tell you what, if Colorado swings in Trump's camp, I think he's going to win this election. And it's not just Colorado. He can win Pennsylvania. He can win Michigan. There's a whole bunch of states that look like this. So here we are. Will he do it? I don't know. I thought Trump did very lousy in the last debate. I think people who claim that he did well are just Trump supporters denying the obvious. The question is, will it hurt him any? We'll see.
Well, don't forget, Obama did horribly in the first debate, and then the next two he nailed it.
Yeah, there's no indication that Trump has the capability to nail anything. He got the harder questions. He had 3 pointed questions. Of the birther issue, which he totally blew. He should have just said, okay, well, I changed my mind. Obama's not running. Why is this even an issue? And he can say, I changed my mind once he, showed his actual birth certificate. That's all he had to say. And he would have come out ahead instead of behind had he just simply said that. They went after him for tax returns, and he should have just said, you know what, there's no obligation for me to report my tax returns just because other people have done it. But if we want to see where the real obligation ought to lie, it ought to be Hillary ought to, disclose all of the emails on her servers. I mean, he did kind of bring that in, but then he went, wandering on about audits and all kinds of other stuff. Meanwhile, Hillary had no hard questions pointed at her. None on Libya, none on the email servers. Clinton had to, or Trump had to bring that up. Anyway, here we are. So, but most people, don't think Trump is going to win this. I don't know whether he will or not, but I'm telling you this, it's a lot closer than people think.
Well, as long as people think the economy is doing poorly, and more importantly, how they're personally are doing, that's probably going to be the biggest factor. If there's a wave of layoffs or the market turns down and again companies dump staff all over the place, that's going to be a huge factor in the election.
Well, by the time we get to that election, it's still not going to look like we're in a recession, although a lot of people, we've been flirting with one for the last year. Realistically, the government spending and auto sales about the only thing keeping it, the economy afloat. So, we'll see. We also get a GDP forecast, not for third quarter, but we get our third and final estimate. I think it's the third and final estimate for second quarter out here now that we're a third of the way through, through the third quarter. So crazy. So, anyway, the GDP is such a lagging indicator that, but it will actually play into the commentary ahead of the election.
We'll have more with Mish Shedlock next on this program.
GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond-producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109-carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mish Shedlock. Mish, there was a survey that said perhaps 3/4 of the company executives in Britain would leave because of Brexit, but are they really going to pull up roots and
Where
give
are
up?
They going to go? They're going to go to France with higher tax rates? I don't think they're going to go anywhere. There's, Britain did something extremely smart. Right on Brexit, they came out and lowered their corporate tax rates. If anything, businesses are going to want to move to the UK, but we've got all this talk. I think most of this talk is still hoping that this Brexit really doesn't happen. But Theresa May, the Prime Minister of the UK, has shown every indication that she is going to go ahead with this. By the way, it's on September 29th. It's the third estimate for second quarter GDP. We've not seen any. By the time we see our estimates for third quarter GDP, third quarter will be nearly over. So that's how lagging this GDP is.
Well, so many people point out too, for a business to look back at what's happened, you know what's happened if you look at your own bottom line. And the whole idea is to look forward, avoid the same mistakes, and do something better.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's meanwhile, let's move on. Well, the World Trade Organization / Global Trade Growth forecast by 39% said that it was a wake-up call, and I agree. And it's seldom that I agree with these organizations. The IMF actually came out and said something quite similar today, but you know, they're just saying some things now that I've been saying all year, that there is a very, very real chance of a global trade collapse due to protectionism. Brexit is a part of it. ECB President Mario Draghi, you know, came out and with tough talk on the UK. That ain't going to get them anywhere. Look, the UK is a net importer, so Germany and France, most of Europe has a trade surplus with the UK. You know, if they play hardball with the UK, say, you know, raise taxes or don't let them trade, guess what's going to happen? The UK is going to retaliate, and although both sides lose, the Europe is going to lose. EU is going to lose more than the UK. Meanwhile, we saw the collapse of trade agreements between EU and Canada, between EU and the United States, between the United States and Asia. Most of those weren't really free trade agreements, but they are symbolic of a rising wave of protectionism. Both Trump and Hillary are waving various protection banners. Trump wants to build a wall with Mexico. That's ridiculous. Actually, he's not going to be able to do that because Congress isn't going to appropriate any funds for it. But he can talk. Now, Hillary, on the other hand, wants a global trade prosecutor. Now, that's something, you know, that they can probably do by dictate. You know, we're going to have a global trade prosecutor. They'll find some way to do that. So, realistically speaking here, what Hillary's saying is what's worse than Trump is saying in terms of practical standpoint as to what a president can actually do by dictate as opposed to needing funding for the damn thing from Congress. So, but they're both talking silliness here, and they're both going after the same set of voters. You know, they're both going after these Rust Belt voters. I don't even know whether Trump believes any of this stuff, but he's saying some of the things that he needed to say, you know, to get elected.
Well, people who know Trump personally have told me he is a much sharper person than the one he portrays on television. He's very much the, celebrity reality show host when he's on TV and doing these speeches. But in reality, he's very sharp, he's very astute, he's very shrewd, and he's just playing the American people for suckers because they like a good controversial line.
Well, it's clear that he's a decent businessman. You know, if you just look at his net worth, how can you conclude anything else? He said a lot of things that I strongly disagree with. So has Hillary. Hillary is the bigger warmonger, so between the two of them, you know, I'm extremely anti-war, and there's no way I could ever vote for Hillary. That doesn't mean I particularly like Trump. And actually, if you look at it, these are the most two disliked people running in the entire history of the U.S. I mean, there have never been two more candidates that the public couldn't stand as our nominees. So what's that say? I'm not even sure what that says, but it's certainly, you know, telling, you know, how polarized we all are when on many of these issues, both of these candidates agree, and trade is a key one.
Now, if they do go whole hog protectionist, how many jobs are going to be lost, and how big of a hole is that going to leave in the U.S. economy?
Actually, I think there's going to be a big hole in the U.S. economy no matter who wins. No matter whether or not we have this global protectionism that is actually should be obvious to everyone. We've got a wave of robotics that's coming. Now this is 6 years away maybe, with automation of trucks, self-driving trucks. I did an article on my blog just the other day. They're talking about building skyscrapers in London, using robots. That's going to happen. And the woman CEO of one of the UK's largest construction companies said, I would have laughed at you 5 years ago if you were told me this is happening, but she goes, this is happening right now, and it's happening fast. So again, this is another, so maybe this is looking, 6 years ahead, beyond one term here, but some of this stuff is going to start, now. And there are, we've got a housing slowdown coming, I believe, automobile slowdown coming here. The last two auto reports weren't any good. At some point there's going to be a ramp up for, these new autos. But what? So I'm just looking ahead. Got the demographics. Actually, demographics in Canada are really poor. Demographics in the United States are poor. Demographics in Europe are horrible. Demographics in Japan and China are horrible. So, all of this is going to play, into growth, and the global central banks are exacerbating the problem with negative interest rates, trying to get prices to go up when the average consumer wants prices to come down. It's idiotic, and it's a mess. The Europeans, most of the European countries, do not have a budget under monetary rules to do anything to combat this next slowdown. Numerous countries, Spain is way behind its budget targets. Italy is behind its debt control. Portugal is way behind. Now, what's going to happen here? Greece has no way to pay back what it's owed. So it's actual depression in Greece, and it did manage to get to a near a primary account surplus again. That's exclusive of interest on debt. The interest on debt is absolutely massive here in Greece. There's no way it can pay this back. And so there's no realism here anywhere. I just look at the whole global macro picture, and to use one word, it really sucks. So I don't think it matters who wins the election. And protectionism is going to play a part of it. So it has a look of being really nasty.
Well, hopefully you find yourself in a safe place, and I'll try to find a little cubby hole up here in the Great White North.
The Great White North. Well, you don't have any snow yet, do you?
Just on top of of Whistler.
Okay.
Where it belongs, by the way.
Well, anyway, yeah, I'm not looking forward to winter here. We still have fall though, and I am looking for getting out to some new fall photography. I'm launching a photography blog, and I expect I will have that up and running. Oh, I keep saying this, but I've actually got a test blog out there. I'm playing around with it. I'm playing around with some layout changes, and hopefully within 2 or 3 weeks I'll have this thing up.
Mish, we'll be looking forward to that.
And I look forward to talking in a couple of weeks.
My guest has been Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on MishTalk.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com Radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. If you have questions for the show, you can send them to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.